At 2 a.m., I lay bleeding on the floor. My mom watched as I begged for help from my stepdad. The cold tiles felt unforgiving against my skin. My heart pounded in my chest, drowning out the silence, echoing fear. I couldn't breathe. The pain spread like wildfire, fierce and consuming. I looked at my mother, her eyes vacant, struggling to grasp reality. "Please call 911. I gasped, my throat raw, each word a painful stab. But she just stood there, immobilized by shock, as if time had frozen around us. I could see the shadows dancing on the walls, only amplifying my panic. Outside, the wind howled, a haunting wail that seeped through the cracks of our decaying home. Everything was strange. My stepdad had been acting erratically for weeks now. He spent nights tinkering in the basement, obsessed with something I couldn't see. My thoughts raced back to that strange shadow I had caught a glimpse of last night, a figure lurking in the darkness, whispering secrets to the walls. "Where is he?" I gasped, desperate. "Where's Sam?" But my words fell into the void unanswered. My eyes darted toward the doorway, half expecting him to stride in like a villain from a nightmare, a grin plastered across his face. Reveling in my despair, I felt warm blood trickle down my arm, pooling, sticky and red. Panic clawed at my throat. My breaths came fast and shallow. I noticed my mom flinch, her body tensing as if she could feel the weight of my fear. But she remained still frozen. I couldn't hold back the wave of anger and desperation. "Why aren't you helping me?" And then the floor creaked. I turned my head slowly, heart racing. The creeping dread made me hold my breath. Shadows moved in the corner of the dimly lit room. There, standing just beyond the threshold, was Sam, with a glint in his eye that made my skin crawl. "Did you think I wouldn't notice?" he said, his voice low, sinister. I felt my blood run cold. The darkness of the night wrapped around me like a heavy blanket. Was he this angry? This capable of this? The door slammed shut behind him, cutting off any chance of escape. My mom finally gasped, stepping back, her shoulders slumping as reality crashed over her like a tidal wave. The trembling in her hands was visible. Yet she stayed quiet. Did she even realize how far gone he was, how twisted? In that moment, everything shifted. My life hung by a thread, the past I once knew blurred by the possibility of terror. I could barely comprehend what was happening. I wanted to scream, to run, but the pain paralyzed me. What would happen next? Would I survive this night? Or would everything unravel even more? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The room felt smaller as Sam's shadow loomed larger. A twisted smile curled on his lips, satisfaction radiating through the darkness that enveloped us. I tried to piece together how we had arrived here. A mere flicker flashing in my mind, family dinners, laughter echoing. Moments I desperately wanted to believe were real. But now all that was marred by his piercing gaze, filled with something I could only define as malice. "Do you think I'd let you leave? After what you've done?" His words sliced through the air. My heart sank, betrayal washing over me like an icy wave. I didn't understand. What could I have possibly done? My confusion morphed into a gnawing fear. What held his heart captive? "There's no one here to save you. Your mother is paralyzed with fear, just like you should be." He relished the chaos, and I could almost see the gears turning behind those eyes. I longed for the strength to push myself off the floor, to pound on the door, to scream for help that wasn't coming. But each attempt was met with the pain radiating from my side, sharp and unforgiving. "Mom!" I cried, willing her to snap out of it, unwilling to let her drown in this nightmare. But her eyes were distant, my plea echoing around us like a ghost. I felt anger swell within me, tinged with a deep-seated sadness. Where had the woman gone who once held me when nightmares took me? "I always loved you, you know," Sam said, his tone mockingly sweet, suddenly shifting as if to mask the menace with a veneer of warmth. "I did everything I could to make this work, But you, he stepped closer, towering above me. You don't appreciate my efforts. You've been nothing but a weight on this family, a burden. No. Am not. My protest faded as new shards of pain tore through my side. The crimson droplets stained the floor, their rhythm matching the frantic beat of my heart. In a brief, desperate moment, I remembered the basement. The strange noises, the mysterious experiments that had stretched Sam's nights longer and longer, dragging down a veil I dared not lift. What was he hiding? What twisted obsession had fully consumed him? Then a flicker of movement caught my eye. My mother had taken a step forward, her limbs trembling. Stop it, Sam. Just stop. Her voice, though thin and wavering, cut through the claustrophobic tension. For the first time, I saw a glimmer of life in her eyes as they narrowed with purpose. Maybe she wasn't as incapacitated as I had thought. But that moment of connection was fleeting. Sam's eyes flicked to her, annoyance brewing beneath the surface. You think you can protect him? You think you can shield him from the truth? He's not worth it. Please, he's my son. Mom argued, desperation seeping into her voice. You're out of control. The air thickened, unspoken words colliding, and I sensed the room tightening around our family, each pulse of pain amplifying the fractures that had begun long before this fatal encounter. Where did love end and madness begin? Could either of us, caught in this moment, reclaim what once was? Finally, in a reckless surge of defiance against overwhelming pain, I braced myself against the floor and pushed up. Every muscle screamed. Yet I fought to stand, to not be at the mercy of Sam any longer. His attention snapped back to me. Stay down, he roared, lunging forward. But I couldn't comply, not anymore. Not after everything I had endured. Desperation propelled me forward, driven by an instinct to survive. Just as I grappled to stand up for myself, I heard the shattering of glass behind me. The sound echoed like thunder in the night, so unexpected that it froze us all in place. My heart raced with anticipation, and in that fraught moment, my gaze turned toward the sound into the darkness of the hallway leading to the basement. Had someone heard? Was help on the way? As if in answer, footsteps echoed, quick, deliberate. My breath caught. Did you think this was over? Sam shouted, and suddenly, I felt the grip of dread tighten around my heart once more. The door swung open, and a figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in uncertainty yet radiating a profound familiarity. Get away from him. The voice was powerful, and for a moment, the tension hung thick in the air. Sam caught off guard. But who was it? And what had been awakened in our home this night, where moments of fragile hope clashed with the chaos of brokenness? As I searched the stranger's face, the truth weighed heavily on my chest. Everything I knew was about to change once more, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for it. The figure stepped into the dim light, and recognition struck me like a bolt of lightning. It was Marcus, my long-lost uncle, the one whose absence had carved a gaping hole in our family story. I remembered his laughter at family barbecues, the way he'd hoist me onto his shoulders and let me feel like I could touch the sky. But what stood before me now was a man transformed by the years. His eyes held a world of pain and regret, yet there was steely determination etched in his jaw. Get away from him, Marcus repeated, taking his first brave step toward us, a shield against Sam's twisted malice. The air thickened, crackling with an energy I hadn't felt in ages. It was as if a protective barrier was forming, one I desperately craved. Sam hesitated, glancing from Marcus to me, confusion flitting across his features. You don't belong here, he hissed, a wildness creeping into his voice. For a moment I thought he might retreat, but he stepped forward instead, emboldened by anger. This doesn't concern you. You're wrong, Marcus countered, jaw tightening as he took another step closer. This concerns all of us. You've lost your way, Sam. This isn't love. It's a prison of your own making. At his words, a flicker of something shifted in the air. The shadows that had pooled around Sam seemed to waver, as if reconsidering their hold on him. Uncertainty rippled through the room. I could feel it, a palpable tension that swirled dangerously close to my own heart. Stay back, Sam barked, voice wobbling slightly under the weight of rising panic. You don't understand. He's been lying to you. I'm the only one who can keep this family intact. I swallowed hard, struggling against the pulse of pain in my side. Sam's delusions ran deep, masked by mistaken loyalty and a desire for control. Somehow, I needed to reach him before he sunk further into this darkness. "You don't have to do this, Sam," I shouted, feeling an ember of hope ignite within me. "We can find a way back." But he shook his head, disbelief curling his lips into a sneer. "A way back? You think you're worth saving? Look at what you've become. Look at what you've become." Marcus shot back, the power of his words compelling and fierce. "You're not the man I once knew, Sam. You're drowning, and the only way out is to admit what's true." For the first time, I saw vulnerability flashing in Sam's eyes. He staggered slightly, as if my uncle's words were pulling him back from the edge of a cliff. "You don't understand," he stammered, each word more frantic than the last. "I did it for us. I did it to protect you." "Protect us?" Marcus' voice softened, forcing a crack in the ice that had encased our situation for far too long. "No, you suffocated us. You've turned fear into a weapon." A soft rustling interrupted the tense standoff, and I stole a glance at my mother, who had remained silent but watchful. Something flickered in her eyes. Could she still find a way to intervene? I opened my mouth to say something, but the word got caught in my throat as a new wave of pain pulsed through my body, and just as suddenly my mother stepped forward, drying the tears that had slipped down her cheeks. Her voice trembled yet firm. "Sam, please. Let go of this madness. You're losing everything we built together. You can still change." The sound of her plea acted like a catalyst. All at once the room breathed together, and Sam's veneer cracked further. His shoulders slumped, and something chilled him deeper than the rage he had built his life upon. But it was fleeting. Sam's eyes hardened once more, the fire reigniting within. "No, you're wrong," he thundered, his expression morphing into a grimace of denial. "This is all I have left. You'll never take it away from me." Before I could process his words, he lunged, arms outstretched. My heart sank. But in an unexpected twist, Marcus intercepted him. The two collided, shadows wrestling in a forceful clash that echoed within the dark corners of our shattered world. Time seemed to slow. In that desperate moment, a rush of emotion surged within me: fear, anger, hope, and a deep-seated longing for our families. Past glories. I struggled to breathe, to urge myself onward, to escape this nightmare that felt infinitely constraining. "Mom! Help!" I cried out, but my voice echoed weakly as I clutched my side, blood seeping through my fingers like a crimson cloak. Visions of our family past flickered and warped in my mind, laughter and warmth now buried beneath layers of betrayal and agony. Then, just as I thought all hope was fading, something shifted in my mother's stance. I saw her extend an arm toward me, a gesture of love, a silent promise that connections could mend. But it was too late. As Marcus held Sam back with every ounce of strength, I realized something critical. No matter how fiercely I hoped, the moment hung dangerously in the balance, teetering on the brink of disaster. Just then, the fractured family I had clung to felt more tenuous than ever. But Sam twisted free and, driven by a frantic despair, reached behind him, toward the shadows of the hallway, where something heavy clattered to the floor. "What have you done?" Marcus gasped, eyes widening at the sudden realization dawning upon us, a glint of metal among the darkness. Time froze as clarity erupted within my mind. The past was shaping our present, but now, it threatened to destroy our future. And in that quiet uncertainty, I fully grasped that the darkness had claws ready to break us apart. Then, the air was split by a thunderous crash as Sam reached for something none of us were ready to face. The chaos unraveled around me, a grotesque ballet of desperation and fear. I lay sprawled on the cold floor, caught in a tempest of emotions as shadows and light collided violently. My mother's anguished expression shifted between Sam, who was now a wild animal backed into a corner, and Marcus, who stood resolute but clearly straining against the rising tide of madness. "Please, Sam." My voice trembled, the shards of pain punctuating each syllable. I could feel warmth pooling beneath me, a vivid reminder of the fragility of this moment. "Think about what you're doing." But my words fluttered aimlessly in the turmoil. His gaze was vacant of reason, disposable of love. The darkness had coiled around him, squeezing out the man I once adored, the uncle who had been my son on the hottest of days. It felt inconceivable that a single phrase, a single act, could cause such a shift in everything I once thought was sacred. The metal clattered another time, its unsettling echo revealing a hidden fate. My breath hitched, pulse thudding too fast as I grappled with the implications. Each peripheral detail bloomed in richness, the creaking floorboards, the distant chime of a clock, the way my mother's fingers curled into fists as if she were hanging on to sanity while slipping swiftly into despair. Stop. Don't. Please. My cries mingled with the heavy air. A desperate plea caught between a mother's love and a child's heartbreak. How could I fix this? How could I fix us? And then, as if orchestrated by the universe's peculiar timing, Marcus lunged forward, grappling Sam's wrists in a bid to wrestle the chaos away from us. A flicker of vulnerability danced in Sam's eyes before he wrenched himself free. I'm not afraid to end this. You're all against me. With a lurch, my mother stepped closer, her face pale but resolute. No, Sam. We are not against you. You're worth saving. Remember who you were. You remember us, don't you? Her words pierced the thick air, resonating with a haunting familiarity. I could see a flicker of recognition cross his brow. Mere seconds before a cacophony rattled across the room. The metal object he had seized a frame from the mantel holding our family photograph shattered against the wall, splintering into 1,000 hopeless pieces. Look at what you've done. He roared, the words echoing with fury and sorrow. It was in that moment that I realized he no longer saw us as family, saw us as enemies in a war of his own making. Cracks formed in the foundation of everything I ever believed. I had always thought love could conquer all, could mend wounds wider than any chasm. But here we were, one misstep away from annihilation, teetering on the edge of a void that threatened to consume us. Sam, please, I urged again, voice trembling with the weight of my plea. Can't you see? We still have a chance. This is not the end. We can rebuild. Together. Each word felt like a prayer, a desperate hope threading through aching pain. You don't want to do this. But Sam's face twisted in a mixture of rage and vulnerability. He took a step back, chest heaving as if smothered by the burdens he couldn't let go of. Rebuild? What do you know about rebuilding? All I've done is for this family. And you, his voice took on a darker tone. A whisper that clawed at my heart. You're a reminder of what I've lost. Please, I'm still here. Don't push me away. And as the shadows of despair swirled, I grasped a flicker of kindness rising inside me, igniting a thought, a belief that maybe, just maybe, there was a part of him still within reach. Before I could voice that thought, Sam lunged again, but this time the emotion in his eyes shimmered dangerously, swaying between anger and desperation. You think you can save me? He spat, with a venom that stung like barbed wire. I'm beyond saving. In a frantic whirl of movements that felt like slow motion, Marcus tightened his grip. I held my breath, praying it wouldn't lead to further bloodshed, praying the mental barricade would shatter under the weight of truth. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a flicker of movement, a shadow huddled near the doorway. My heart sank when I recognized it. It was Vanessa, my little sister, her wide eyes filled with confusion and fear. Mom, she whispered, voice breaking. What's happening? Why are you all yelling? In that moment, time stretched taut, the air thick with the weight of our secrets. The entire room fell silent, the collective breaths holding at the precipice of something dire. Vanessa, I called, a stone of ice dropping into my stomach. Get back. It's not safe. But her tiny voice cut through the tension more powerfully than anything I could muster. I just want us to be a family. And that declaration was like a spark igniting the dry landscape of our emotions, drawing the eyes of everyone present. For a single heartbeat, everything halted. Sam, Marcus, my mother, and I were all suddenly encapsulated in the rawness of her innocence. That tiny voice bore more weight than any confrontation. Hope fluttered within me, but it was punctuated by dread. The darkness hovering above threatened collapse, and once again, I felt the agony of the moment thread through like barbed wire, reminding me how precarious our existence was. Vanessa, I croaked, the urgency of the moment drowning my resolve. Get away. But it was too late. The chain reaction I had feared was ignited as Sam turned, taking in his little sister's fragile form a mirror reflecting his own lost innocence. I could only watch in horror as the love I had hoped would save us all morphed into something ugly, something desperate. And just like that, the air thickened, anticipation building a crescendo around us. The tide of chaos shift, darker now, blurring the lines between family, darkness, and hope. It was a bridge too far. A realization set in, curling like smoke through the room. We might not be the only ones at risk. No. I screamed into the abyss of uncertainty, but it was swallowed by a new sound. One that shattered the tenuous peace. Another crash reverberated through the air, deeper now. And emerging from the depths of the shadows, a new figure stepped forward, intent and resolute. Step aside, the voice commanded, hidden in the cloak of night. Panic gripped my heart as everything I believed shifted once more, sending shivers cascading down my spine. And in a heartbeat, the collision of chaos and clarity became irrevocably tied to each of us. Choice no longer belonged to us but to the darkness now advancing, ready to suffocate all that remained. The world around me began to dissolve into the surreal, a painful echo that resonated cruelly in waves. All I could focus on was the palpable weight of tension that filled the space, tightly wound around us, suffocating as each second ticked by. Vanessa stood there, small and frightened, her innocence hanging in the balance while I watched despair tighten around a man I hoped was still deep within the shadows of the uncle I once loved. Step aside, a new voice resonated in the room, cutting through the turmoil like a knife. The stranger moved further into the light, and I felt fractures forming across the facades we had built. He was tall, with a posture that suggested authority, but also a familiarity that set my heart racing. Recognizing him felt impossible. A jolt that danced dangerously close to déjà vu. Who are you? I managed to croak out, my voice trembling with the effort to be heard over the tumult of emotions swirling around us. Leave it, Marcus hissed, struggling to maintain his grip on Sam, who was once again reeling from the intruder's presence. He doesn't deserve your concern, not now. The newcomer held steady, meeting my gaze with a disquieting calm. I've come to help, he said, ignoring the rising tension like heat swelling before a storm. We need to resolve this before it spirals completely out of control. Help? You don't know what's happening here. I shot back, desperation clawing at me. We're on the brink of exactly. And I can guide you through this, but you all need to trust me. His voice softened, edged with sincerity. There was a flicker of recognition in the depths of my mind. How could he possibly understand? But it was the look on Vanessa's face, wide with apprehension yet naive enough to still cling to hope, that made everything inside me twist violently. I just want us to be a family, she had pleaded, the words weaving innocence with a sharp, piercing truth. That childlike wish now shot through the chaos, stirring something deep within all of us. Don't. I breathed, barely loud enough to break the stillness. You don't know what you're getting into. Though my heart lifted at the possibility of help, the risk it represented churned uneasily in my stomach. How could I trust this stranger? His presence sparked an uncomfortable juxtaposition of possible salvation against the stranger bonding with darkness deep within Sam. Sam, listen to me, the man implored, his steady gaze focused on my uncle. We're not your enemies, but if you don't let us help you, this will end badly for you and for everyone who loves you. Something shifted in Sam's demeanor, a fleeting moment of vulnerability revealing itself, but just as quickly, it was buried under anger as he cried out, "No one loves me. Not anymore. You don't get to decide what I need." "I do," the mysterious man returned. "Your family still sees you, you just can't see them. Not yet. But if you let this darkness consume you, you will end up losing everything. Just please let's talk. Just for a moment, let's try to find the light." For a heartbeat, silence wrapped around us, thick like a shroud, as the words cast their spell in the air like incense, trying to penetrate the haze of rage blocking Sam from the truth. I held my breath, desperately hoping that he would recede from the edge he clung to. But the tension was spiraling ever closer. "Mom, what's happening?" Vanessa's gentle voice sliced through, the singer of a requiem in the chaos. My mother reached for her, but I felt the desperation anchor all of us, waiting for a decision, the thin thread holding us above a net of despair that threatened to catch us all. At that precipice, Sam visibly faltered. Shadows danced across his features, and for a moment, regret flickered in his deep-set eyes. But the darkness fought back painfully, clawing at the edges of his heart. "You don't understand. I'm broken. I'm too far gone." Then let us help you fix it, the man urged, stepping a fraction closer, his hands open as if to say the pathway to redemption lay in acceptance. Just then, I saw the darkness creeping back into Sam's gaze as the struggles deep within surged once more, edging him closer to a decision all too terrifying. Please, I cried, the desperation slamming into the walls of my chest as I focused on my mother, whose anguish was palpable. Sam, we can't lose you, I'm already lost. The roar that exploded from him sent ripples of panic through us all. You don't even know what I've done. Just let me, Sam, stop, I urged, each syllable trembling. In that moment of clarity, awareness washed over me that we were dancing on the thin thread of his choices. But more than that, I could feel another wretched revelation tugging at the edges of my mind. A hidden truth, something more than our present agony, that we care about you, I shouted, as if trying to break through the suffocating hold he was under. Do you really want to hurt Vanessa? Do you want to hurt your family? And it was then that the moment cracked wide open, revealing the underlying truth lurking beneath the chaos. The roots of this darkness spread deeper than any of us had dared imagine. The newcomer's face paled, a flicker of realization shadowing his features. You can't be serious, he began, but the new perspective was cut short by a flash in Sam's eyes, wild and unfocused. Just as I started to feel the round, emerging hope threading through us begin to bloom into life, the situation took a swift and dark turn. Marcus, still holding on to Sam, began to lose his grip. Before I could fully grasp what was happening, Sam lunged forward once more, wrestling himself free of Marcus' hold like a wild animal breaking free from captivity, unanchored and primal. Get away from me. The world seemed to shatter again, splintering as I watched the anguish wash over my mother's face, realizing what Sam could do, what breach could be created in this tender moment. And just as quickly, Vanessa let out a terrified squeal, and oh, everything was spiraling, a chaotic dance positioned to pull us deeper down the well of uncertainty. As my heart threatened to break, the desperate thought rushed through my mind: what if there's a darkness lurking inside each of us that could be set free? In the midst of it all, as if to answer that unspoken dread, the man stepped forward again, a calm force ready to break through. I can help you, Sam. But it was too late. Just as I reached for Vanessa, terrified that another branch of this storm may catch her, a sharp sound pierced through a gunshot, loud and definitive, echoing beyond the threshold of reason. Everything froze as we registered that sound, time suspended in horror, and the click of a trigger marked the beginning of the end. The air became a chaotic blend of agonized screams and betrayal, where hope unraveled and a new darkness threatened to consume not just Sam, but all of us. I stood numb, grappling with the reality of loss paralleling the stillness that hovered before the storm. As the shadows grew thicker around us, one horrifying truth crystallized among the wreckage. The fight for each other had taken a turn for the worst, and we were now strangled by our choices, spiraling into the vast unknown, where the family I hoped to salvage stood perilously on the edge of oblivion. The air had thickened, embracing the chaos we had unleashed. Gunshots were supposed to bring Claritian understanding born from dread, but instead, they enveloped us in a blinding mist. As the echo faded, I could only hear the rough, uneven breaths escaping our lips, each one a reminder of how fragile our hope had become. Mom! Vanessa's voice shattered through my reverie, piercing the veil of panic. She stood frozen, her eyes wide with fear, horrifyingly aware of the stakes. My mother staggered instinctively towards her, as if drawn by an invisible string of desperation. We need to get out of here. I was still processing what had just transpired, but a grounding instinct kicked in, urging me to protect the warmth of innocent love amidst all this darkness. No, we can't leave him, I shouted, my heart hammering at the thought of abandoning Sam at this pivotal moment. Don't you see? Marcus interjected, his voice trembling yet firm. He's not himself. This isn't the Sam we remember. The darkness has taken over as a danger to himself and to you. I reeled, torn between denial and fear. But he's still our family, I insisted, feeling the weight of each syllable like an anchor pulling me underwater. If we abandon him now, we can't help him from here. Marcus' voice broke like glass against the weight of his words. You're putting yourself in danger, Sam. Can you hear me? I called, frantically searching through the haze that might still connect him to us. The flickering remnants of our shared past burned in my chest alongside the raw agony spilling into the open air. Stay back. Sam's voice came like a jagged edge, a growl of fury cloaked in desperation. His silhouette was stark against the dim light, casting a deeper shadow that breathed with his anguish. You don't know what you're doing. The stranger's face mirrored the turbulence swirling within me. His calm seemed rooted in unknown depths, and a thought crossed my mind: what burdens did he carry? What pain compelled him to wade into our chaos? I know you're lost, the stranger said softly, almost coaxing, shattering the tension with gentleness. But we can help you find your way back. You don't have to fight this alone. Please, just take a breath and remember who you are. The chaos slipped into control as if Sam were teetering on a high wire of emotion. For one fleeting moment, I thought he might reconsider. I held out my hand, trembling as I sought a connection. Please, Sam. We're here. Don't let the darkness win. But I saw a fleeting glimmer of recognition in his eyes, flickered and extinguished, and the darkness clawed its way back into the forefront. No. You don't understand. I've done terrible things and you'll all be better off without me. His words struck me like a dagger, every syllable weighted with despair. As the panic surged within me, I turned to my mother, whose anguish mirrored my own. Please. We need him, fight for him. But the sentiment met only deafening silence, blending into the fog, suffocating our resolve. Just then Vanessa's small frame moved closer, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Uncle Sam, you taught me to ride a bike. You said I could do anything if I tried. Her voice wavered, but she pressed on, the courage of a child unwilling to let go of the bonds of love. I don't want to lose you. Just come home. Everything within me twisted painfully at her words, the innocence cascading like a gentle sound amidst the thunder. I glanced at Marcus, whose face pleaded for reason. I knew he was right about the immediate danger. Yet part of me believed in the power of family. Just then, in the shadowed corners of the room, a light flickered. I'll take her away, the stranger suggested, eyes brimming with purpose. Let her bring him back. No. I interrupted, panic surging once more. Sam needs all of us. Not just Sam needs hope, but hope carries a price, the stranger retorted, urgency tinged with something darker. How many times can we risk the damage, waiting for him to come back to us? We have to make a choice before it's too late. With that, I felt a sharp breath hitch in my throat. In the midst of all of this, the weight of the unknown bore down upon me. But if we abandon him now, if we let him slip away, then we grow even weaker. He snapped back, the emotion raw as it filled the space around us. Your family is a chance at redemption, but Sam needs to want it too. The shadows deepened around us, fractured and ready to pull me into the abyss, of premonition ushering in despair. I took a step back, my heart racing. What if he doesn't want it? I left the question hanging, biting my lips to suppress my fear that I can help him. The stranger reiterated, desperation filling his voice. But I cannot fight his battles for him. If he resists, if he chooses despair, this darkness will swallow you all. It was then I felt the sharp edge of fear I had avoided until this moment, threatening to drown me whole. Sam was not just battling his fears. He was battling every fracture that had ever existed within him. How could we possibly win against that? A sudden creak made us all jump. The door swung open, revealing the outline of another figure. One I recognized all too well. My heart sank into the pit of my stomach at the sight of my stepdad, emboldened by purpose yet tethered by darkness, the weight of the night heavy on his shoulders. What are you doing here? I asked, dread mixing with confusion. I heard the gunshot, he stated, eyes roving dangerously across our faces, settling for an agonizing beat on Sam's. What have you done? The way he looked at his brother tore at something deep inside, cementing my helplessness. Sam needs us, I exclaimed, my voice cracking. He's going through something we can help him with. But as his gaze pierced into Sam, I could see a darkness beyond what we had all navigated before, a reckoning stirred by forgotten truths and broken bonds. You're all playing with fire. You need to take responsibility before this gets worse, he warned, and I felt the weight of his words settle like lead. Don't listen to him, the stranger countered, stepping forward, his intensity unfiltered. He doesn't want to help you, Sam. He's only here for himself. In that moment, the tension ignited anew, and Sam's heart hung in the balance, vacillating between past affections and present fears. It became painfully clear that choices now intertwining pointed ominously toward impending loss. I reached for Sam once more, grasping for connection, but the air pulsed with unspoken truths. Whatever we've faced, you still have us. We love you. But the irony twisted around my heart, for I knew not just love would guide him, but that tonight a long night of choices would unfurl before us with one last desperate cry. I watched as the shadows danced their final waltz. Would they erase Sam? The moment extended infinitely, and then the world erupted once more, a cacophony of screams, shots, and soul-rending choices, leading me to a realization that shattered the belief I'd held. In the struggle to save him, the power of our own darkness had awakened, blending shadows as the night morphed into sheer chaos, and as we stood, all of us teetering on the precipice, I knew with tragic certainty that the fallout of our collective choices would tear us apart, leaving us desperately flailing for hope in a disintegrating family, rendered helpless by those haunted choices we had yet to confront fully. The air was thick with tension, a sinister stillness that consumed the chaos. As reality began to twist into something unrecognizable, my heart raced as I struggled to comprehend the dread swirling around us. I could still hear Vanessa's innocent pleas, the echoes of promises unfulfilled vibrating through my bones. But the looming shadows of my stepdad and the stranger drew tighter. Close ran invisible force binding us in fear. I am not going to let him take you, I whispered to Sam, desperation clawing at my throat. I could see the turmoil in his eyes, the familiar warmth flickering like a candle fighting against a windstorm. Remember our summers? The laughter? The love? Those memories are dead, he shot back, his voice a broken whisper trembling with despair. Just like I should be. Your memories are what well used to pull you back, the stranger insisted, stepping forward, voice low and intense. They're anchors in this storm of grief. Fight for them. As I watched him speak, I could see a glimmer of truth hidden within his harsh words, but it did little to negate the fear that weighed heavily in the room. Beneath the surface a battle raged, one where every heartbeat suspended the fates of those around us. My stepdad's gaze was cold as he regarded Sam. You don't need to make excuses for your brother. It's time he realizes this isn't about family, this is survival. Survival? Or sacrifice? I shot back, feeling the heat rise in my chest. What have we done to each other that would cause us to abandon one of our own? His eyes narrowed, flickering with indignation. You think love is enough? You think it outweighs what he's become? He's a liability. The venom in his words was shocking, and they struck me like a physical blow, igniting a fire I didn't realize was there. Enough! Sam roared, the walls around him vibrating with his fury. Your right, family means nothing when it's riddled with betrayal. You've all failed me. The room trembled as his pain echoed back at us. A shattering realization that festered like a festering wound within the marrow of our existence. Would we all bleed, all suffer because of the demand for unconditional love in this moment? Sam, remember the time I started, but the words died in my throat as melancholy wrapped around me. I took a halting step toward him. I'm not here to betray you. I'm here to help you fight this. But the abyss of his despair surged, threatening to swallow us whole. Help! You don't know what I've done. I'm a monster. Just then Vanessa, visibly shaken yet resolute, interrupted the spiral. You're not a monster. You're my uncle. You laughed at my stupid jokes and taught me how to tie my shoelaces. I won't lose you. Tears brimmed in her eyes, and for a moment, I forgot my own suffering and felt a spark of hope surge through me once more. But as quickly as it came, the darkness returned, prickling the edges of my heart. Hope won't save me, Sam cried out, his voice breaking as fragments of the light began to fade within his gaze. This is who I am now. No, it's not. I screamed, my desperation transforming into a frantic plea. You can resist this. You're stronger than this darkness. Suddenly, everything spiraled as my stepdad reached for his phone, panic radiating from him like a wound in the night. I'm calling for help. This needs to end now. No, I shouted, my words cracking against the air. You can't take him away. This isn't about locking him up. This is about understanding him. I won't watch my brother destroy himself in front of us. He made his choice. I won't love a monster. He yelled, the finality of his words hitting my gut like a punch. In that moment, Sam faltered, the fury slipping from his grasp like sand, and in the horror of it all, I caught something deeper, something that whispered of the uncertainty that made our hearts teeter on the precipice. It was then, amid the clamor erupting in chaos, I felt a sharp pain radiate from my arm, as if a serpent had bitten me. Mom! I cried out, glancing down to see a crimson stain blooming on my shirt, contrasting against my pale skin. Shock coursed through me, my breath hitching in a ragged gasp. How did this happen? Stay back! My stepdad exclaimed, horrified. How badly is she hurt? Mom! Please help! Her scream was drowned out by the cacophony of frantic voices and desperate pleas, swirling around me even as the dizziness began to envelop my mind. Everything narrowed down to a painful focus of blurred faces and muted cries. Get me a towel, anything! Marcus yelled, desperation coloring his tone. But I could see the shadows looming closer, tendrils of darkness wrapping around the edges of my vision. Hold on, just hold on, my mother urged, her voice trembling as she knelt beside me, her hands shaking against my side. I need you to stay with us. But dying screams echoed somewhere in my mind, lining up with visions of a lost love, a brother drowning in his own despair, whispers of hope surfacing only to be submerged in an ocean of grief. I felt laughter from the past writhing in the background, and I realized, with chilling clarity, none of us might make it out alive. That I reached up for a hand or a heart to grasp onto, desperation inching my fingers forward. What do we do? Please! Just when I thought the world might entirely collapse, I glimpsed Sam, the light in his eyes flickering defiantly once more, revealing a consciousness struggling through shadows. It's not over, he breathed, his voice thick with emotion, bringing forth a new sense of urgency. The house was falling apart around us, our family unraveling. Yet in the dark, there flickered a trace of a connection still worth fighting for. And as the world spun into darkness, I felt something shift, a realization shattering through the chaos. What if, in trying to save him, I was causing my own descent into hell? But deep down, amid the encroaching shadows, I knew there was still a chance to believe in a redemption we were all fighting for. Whether it was worth the cost, none of us could tell. The world began to spin erratically as my breathing turned shallow, the thumping of my heart echoing through the chaotic noise. I felt my body grow heavy, the room darkening around me, blurring the faces of those I loved. My mother's voice pierced through the fog, frantic yet determined. Hold on, sweetheart. Stay with me. Her hands pressed against the wound, warm and constricting, yet not enough to stem the flow of red that seeped through her fingers. We're going to get you through this, I promise. I wanted to reach back to her, to anchor myself in her warmth, but my mind was slipping. As darkness clawed at the edges of my vision, whispers of despair wrapped around my thoughts, reminding me of unfinished conversations, lingering fears and unfulfilled promises. Vanessa! Get me that towel! Marcus yelled, desperation lacing his command, still echoing around me but far away. The fear in his voice only amplified my sense of impending doom. Looking into Vanessa's frightened eyes, I grieved what might become of Heron, innocent in this tempest of fury and regret. That my gaze drifted to Sam, whose expression shifted from anger to something resembling terror. I could see the storm raging within him, recognizing that this moment was not only about me. It was about all of us, standing at the precipice of our own darkness, pulled in all directions by the weight of despair and anxiety. You don't have to do this alone, Sam, I cried, my voice barely a whisper. He looked torn between my plea and the shadows threatening to consume him. It's too late for me, he choked out, almost as if admitting defeat. My desperate belief in him began to waver. Was there really a way back from this? Hope is a thread, the stranger had once said, and I longed to grasp it one last time, though my array of memories started to shatter around me. The laughter of our summers, the whisper of secrets shar at it, all felt like a distant dream buried beneath layers of insurmountable darkness. Remember when we built that tree house? I gasped, fighting to keep my thoughts coherent as I spiraled. What else matters if we don't remember love? The room fell silent. Sam's eyes glistened with unshed tears as he recalled the sacred space we built, a sanctuary of imagination and innocence. That treehouse, he began, his voice shaking. It felt so safe. Exactly, I pressed, drawing strength from the memory. That's where we dreamed, Sam. We can build more than just a past, we can forge a way forward. Please don't let it end like this. The flames of desperation flickered between us, but the shadows lingered relentless and cold, whispering doubts into my heart. My stepdad's voice rose over the rising tide, dark with authority. You can't protect him. He's lost to you, all lost to shame. I won't let you ruin your own lives trying to save him from himself. Stop, I shouted, feeling the edges of my vision fraying. You're breaking us apart. I struggled against the overwhelming sensation of being dragged down, needing the presence of those near enough to hold on. And right at the lowest point, I felt a surge of fragile hope sparked by Vanessa, as her small voice broke through the weight of grief. No, Uncle Sam, I believe in you. You're not a monster. A collective gasp filled the room, reverberating against the walls of despair that cradled us tightly. I felt a flicker of light struggling against the consuming darkness. I caught a glimpse of movement from Sam as he stepped closer, eyes fiercely alight. You're right, but before he could finish, the door swung open with a creak that felt like thunder. A new presence swept into the room, as an unexpected face emerged from the shadowed corridor. My father, the very man whose absence had haunted our family like a specter. What the hell is happening? His voice, thick with authority and fear, ignited another wave of chaos. The tension snapped, and my heart plummeted further into an abyss of uncertainty. He looked horrified as he surveyed the chaotic scene: a mother cradling a bleeding daughter, a disturbed stepfather, and a fractured brother lost in his turmoil. Dad? I choked out both, panicked and hopeful, my heart racing at the jagged edges of what this could mean. Please help. But the interlude of his arrival brought an unsettling tension. What did I truly want in this moment? Would he be the savior we needed? Or would he bring more ruin? Just as I began to feel the warmth of prior bonds reignite, a chilling thought hit me. What if his return only unraveled everything we'd fought for? In the quiet aftermath of his arrival, the fear began clawing at the walls of my heart anew. Looming shadows intertwined with uncertain hopes, leaving me hanging on the brink of an emotional precipice. Would my family collapse? Or could we rise from the ashes together? And what would happen now that my father was back? As I lay there, bleeding and fragile, I felt the weight of every lost moment urging me to fight for one last chance, because despite the darkness, there was still a thread of connection binding us. Desperation surged through me. But would it be enough to withstand the storm? Hope surged within the shadows as my father's eyes flickered from my pleading face to my mother, who desperately tried to staunch the flow of blood with trembling hands. The room painted a grim picture of anguish and turmoil, a vivid contrast to the warmth of bygone summers spent laughing under the sun. Get an ambulance, he shouted, his voice brimming with urgency. When he stepped closer, the scent of stale cigarettes and regrets wafted off him, sending a shiver down my spine. Yet, that scent offered familiarity, stirring complicated emotions I hadn't realized were still alive beneath my pain. Dad, please, I gasped as the edges of my vision began to narrow. My reality was slowly distorting, collapsing into an echo chamber of chaos where fear and longing intertwined. Help us, am.my stepfather's features twisted into a mask of anger and resentment, the struggle evident. You think that's going to change anything? He spat, bitterness flooding his voice as he hovered near the wall. The weight of years apart hung in the air like the dust motes illuminated by the harsh light. The room swayed as my heart raced, keeping time with Sam's emotional avant-garde. I could barely see him, caught in the throes of indecision. You're wrong, Dad, he shouted suddenly, fiercely reclaiming the space around him. We can't go on like this. We need each other, not more fighting. Vanessa, our little beacon of innocence wrapped in a cocoon of love, stood beside Sam, her tiny fingers clutching his arm. Please, Uncle Sam. You're not alone. We all need you. Her words hung in the air like whispers of faith, but they were swallowed almost instantly by my stepfather's disdain. You think words can fix this? You think we can just pretend everything's all right? He thrust his arms in the air, frustration boiling over. You're just children. You don't know what it's like, how much it hurts. Maybe that's because you've never let us. Sam's words cut through the chaos, a newfound clarity illuminating his frustrations. For the first time, he broke free from his shadow, his voice resonating with conviction. The flicker of hope ignited once more, a brief ember against the suffocating darkness, sparking something primal within me. I wanted to cry out in affirmation, to carry our voices on the current of anger, pain. But my throat tightened around the desperate truth that clung to the air like a barrier. As my breathing faltered, another flash of panic coursed through me. Someone needs to call for help. I wheezed. Each syllable felt like a monumental effort. I can't stay like this, not while you fight. Silence fell, heavy with dread as we all registered the sheer desperation in my voice. My mother's face twisted in horror as she realized the dimensions of our reality. Time fractured. Every second stretched into eternity while we stood on a precipice, afraid of making each step forward. And then, without warning, the door creaked open again, this time revealing Officer Grant, a familiar figure who had stood by us in our past storms. His authoritative presence filled the void with a sudden sense of calm. A flash of hope echoed in the tension, but that light was soon extinguished by the reality of our chaos. "What the hell is going on here?" he demanded, his eyes scanning the room, searching for answers among the wreckage of our lives. "Help!" I gasped, desperately shifting on the floor, the blood pooling beneath me growing redder, hotter, and louder with every heartbeat. "Please, he needs Vanessa. Stay close," Sam shouted, the urgency in his voice breaking through his earlier turmoil. "You have to keep your head clear. We can't let them take this from us." With Officer Grant assessing the wound and my parents caught in their own strife, I struggled to keep my eyes open, willing my own heart to somehow hold on. I felt Sam's hand grasp my shoulder, grounding me as the weight of the world threatened to buckle under the strain. If only we could push through the pain, we might find the strength we needed together. But as the sirens tore through the silence, the realization that everything could change again clawed at my heart. What would happen once help arrived? Would my mother hold the family together? Or would the harsh reality of our separated lives invade like a winter storm? And then came the revelation that chilled me to my core, sound growing louder outside. A familiar voice was calling through the chaos, startling me back from the brink of unconsciousness. It was my grandmother, gruff and resilient, her steadfast love cut through the amplifying chaos. "Is everyone all right? I'm here. Where's my baby girl?" In that moment, her warm presence, a thread woven through our tangled lives, was a reminder of the perseverance that flowed through us all, a testament of love forged through trials. But as I felt the weight of her hope mingle with my dread, a chilling thought pooled within me. What if her arrival splintered us even further? Was she the calm before the storm? Or would she unleash the wrath of past grudges that threatened to consume us all? As the chaos swirled around us and the paramedics burst through the door, the room felt like a dance between despair and a flickering candle of hope. I had to believe. I had to hold on. But would I be able to survive the impact of what was about to unfold? I lay there, the warmth of life draining from my body as shadows crowded each corner of the room. Before I could fully comprehend the gravity shifting so drastically around me, the paramedics rushed in, their crisp uniforms and serious expressions forming a lifeline in the sea of chaos. I felt their panic as they descended upon me, questions and urgency mixing in a torrent that left me gasping for focus. "Get back," one shouted as they took charge, pushing my mother away gently yet firmly. "We need room." Tethered between the living and whatever waited beyond, I felt awareness slip. I wanted to scream, to fight against the swirling darkness, to remind them of the love binding us, of all anointed memories stitching our hearts. But words failed me, my voice a mere whisper against the impending storm, each echo of their hurried movements wove into the agony that coiled tight around me. But the presence of my family loomed like a beacon, too close yet too far. "Stay with us, please," they snapped, the urgency driving them forward. Their voices melded into Oni chorus promising that I wouldn't vanish completely into the shadows. And yet, I felt myself fading, slipping like sand through a glass hourglass. Then, a flash sparked in my periphery, a gnarled branch reaching out through the clarity of memory. And that moment struck, anchoring me when I thought I would submerge forever. I remembered the time I taught Vanessa how to swing, her delighted laughter filling the air on a sun-drenched afternoon. "Just hold on tight," I'd shouted, and she had soared into the sky. That feeling of freedom. I squeezed my eyes shut, willing it all back into being. "Uncle Sam." Vanessa's voice jolted my attention, bringing warmth through the choking darkness around me. "Please don't go. You have to believe in us." each word picked at the threads that had tethered us. And somehow they weaved together in the fabric of hope, fragile, yet undeniably real. In that very moment, I realized it wasn't just about might, was about my family, this tangle of love and heartbreak that defined our very existence. Listen to her, I croaked, the words crumbling against the weight of pain. Somehow, amidst the blur of chaos, it dawned on me that this was our moment. Somehow, we would stitch the frayed pieces of our bond back together. Sam was lost, but he was not beyond saving. My trickle of consciousness ventured toward him. I choked, forcing a desperate breath from my lungs as the paramedics worked frantically. Sutures punctured my skin, their grim precision hurting yet promising hope. You have to remember the treehouse. Silence fell briefly over the room. I saw the flicker in his eye, that familiar spark branded by pure devotion, but it quickly dissolved into anger. The treehouse is nothing. His words were like shards of ice crashing into the warmth we needed desperately. It's gone. Just like everything else. No. I fought against his despair, willing my voice to rise above the suffocating fear that smothered us like tar. It's not. It's where we laughed and promised to be brave. Tension coiled like a snake between us, uncertainty thrumming in the air. Sam's fist tightened, but Vanessa stood firm next to him, her small hand wrapped around his arm like a vine requiring sunlight. Please, Uncle Sam. You taught me all the best things. I remember everything. It seemed as if the darkness hovering around him hesitated. I could hardly breathe, hardly dare to hope, weight pressing upon my very being. Remember the summer sun? Vanessa urged, her eyes wide and pleading. When we made ice cream. You said nothing tasted better west of the stars. Just then, something flickered, a pulse of warmth within Sam's eyes. In that connection, the fragments fell back into place, and for a fleeting moment, I saw the boy I knew, the one who sang songs and danced in the summer rain. You're not a monster. You're my uncle. And I love you, she cried, her fierce honesty illuminating even the darkest corners of my brother's mind. It broke him in a way I had longed for all along. The squint in his eyes softened, reveal a truth buried below the layers of darkness, a flicker of recognition igniting against the shadows. I want to come back, he whispered. But I'm so afraid. Emotions tumbled like an avalanche around us. The air thickened and cracked. Then let us fight this together, I rasped, struggling to pull through my own pain. We promised to catch you. Sam's breath shuddered audibly, and the shadows began to recede. I felt the walls around us shift, crumbling but not gone, as if years of mistrust collapsed beneath the gentle weight of shared memories. You're right, I don't want to let go. I love you all. The sirens blared outside, but a calm settled over the storm inside the room. I felt the paramedics focus intently on my wound, voices echoing dimly in the background. Stay with me, sweetheart, my mother urged, her eyes brimming with unshed tears as they locked onto my gaze. We're almost through this. Just hold on. Mom will be okay, I whispered, and my heart broke at the sight of her frail form holding everything together like a tapestry slowly pulling apart at the seams. We have to trust in the moments that matter. The paramedics taped me down securely as they rushed me toward the door, reality swirling around us like feral winds. But as my consciousness wavered, the last thing I felt was not the fear of fading, but the warmth of a gentle hand squeezing mine. It knotted tight around hope, badges of love holding us together. And suddenly warmth burst forth, rekindling something neglected, fueling a fire I never thought could grow again amid all the destruction. Together, Sam echoed, voice tremulous but clear, the determination in his eyes shimmering. We fight together. As the shadows retreated, clarity enveloped me. The last thing I heard, moments before the veil of darkness enveloped everything, was Vanessa's voice rising above the chaos, a beacon of love that transcended all doubt. We're still a family. Always. The final cut came as a whisper, an echo of gratitude that left minute breaking but remaking to mark the deep indelible bond that stitched us back together. As the light broke through the dark, reminding us that love, despite everything, would always guide us home. And in that fleeting heartbeat, I realized healing often comes from embracing the fractures, not fearing them.